Good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
How are you on this fine Thursday, October 10th, 2024?
I'm awake. That's it. I
All right.
am ready to. I'm ready to go. I haven't
Cool.
worked out yet, but I'm not looking forward to it. So the longer this show goes, the better for me. It's
Yep.
October 10th, right? It's
It is
October
October
10th if
10th.
you're watching. If unless you're watching on the delay, satellite delay. Anyway,
If you're watching this in the past or in the future, it's October 10th,
October
2020.
10th has some kind of weird significance to it. I don't remember what it
1010.
is. Maybe that's just it. 1010.
I don't know. You know, it's also in Roman numerals. It's well, not technically, but 10 and 10 are XX.
Mm-hmm.
So XX chromosome. So today is Women's Biological Women's Day. They had to add one for biological women.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So when's the non-biological woman day?
And I think there's a Women's Day somewhere else in the year, but
All right. I don't want to start a whole thing. Anyway. Oh, wait a minute. Bo Derek. That's what I was thinking of. 1010.
yeah, shit, double tens.
That's talking about biological women. Hubba hubba. So go watch 10. Go watch Tommy Boy. Enjoy yourself. Cool. What's up, Mike? What have you been up to? Because
well, it's funny. I was looking online yesterday and today, thinking, okay, I'm going to see what's latest in the news and see what we could talk about this morning. But the news is just completely saturated with the hurricane, obviously. So
another tragedy just happened just before I got on.
Oh,
Ethel Kennedy died.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
And I got to be honest with you. I already thought she'd passed, but it's breaking news to me now. So yeah, that just was breaking right when I came in.
Well, since we're discussing that, we can discuss celebrity deaths,
as we often do on this show.
We do. So first of all, Maggie Smith.
Yes, again, someone who thought, I know she's been on television, but I did think she died 20 years ago, but was somehow still being able to work.
Yeah. She was in Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
I think, or something. Was she Downton Abbey?
Downton Abbey, yeah.
Yeah. And wasn't she in the Wizard Kid movie? What's that movie? The kid
Harry Potter?
Yeah, Harry Potter.
Wizard Kid. Next on Wizard Kid. When the trailer park goes crazy, Wizard Kid comes. Was she? I don't know. I'm not a big Harry Potter person. Or a little Harry Potter person.
Either. I think, but I've seen one of the movies, and I'm pretty sure she was in it.
Here's what's funny about Maggie Smith to me. This is my fondest memory of her. Is the movie Murder by Death? Okay, she played David Niven's wife, and I thought she was old then. I thought she was as old as David Niven then. She's looked the same her whole career. So bravo, Dame Maggie Smith. She's a dame.
Yeah.
Look at them gams. No, that's the other kind of dame. Anyway, yeah, quite the career. Very long career. So
yeah,
she will be missed.
There's probably stuff from when she was younger. Hey, Karen, can you pull up a picture of when she was younger? We'll see if she gets that up here for us.
Our staff is on it. Our staff.
Also, John Astin.
Yeah, they just finished the latest Beverly Hills Cop movie, and then
yeah. Did you watch that movie?
I have not yet.
I did.
I'm having some disagreements with Netflix at the moment.
the new one, Axel, I think it's called. Anyway, it's exactly what you would expect it to be. It doesn't underdeliver or overdeliver in any way. It's exactly what you think that movie would be.
Okay, so don't go run out and buy the poster.
What is it? 30 years? What is more than that? 30 years later?
I don't know. Well, from the original probably, but that part 3 was ridiculous.
I don't think I ever saw beyond the first one.
But this is how weird part 3 is. There's actually a cameo by George Lucas in it.
Really?
Yeah. In the park, Eddie Murphy's running around the park, and then there's a situation where he runs by, and I believe he's holding popcorn and something else. It's just one of these kind of things. He might have a line. It's been so long, but even Star Wars geeks were not like, I'm not checking it out. No. Worst cameo ever, thing. So, So, but you know what? So going back to John Ashton, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
What other than Beverly Hills Cop, what else was he in?
That's the only thing I remember him from, but I'm sure there's been a big thing. We IMDb
Probably
him.
the President Ford story. The I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't know what else he would have been
Yeah.
in. So, well, he was perfect in that park though in Beverly Hills Cop because it felt like he was real. It felt like he was a real agitated cop. So,
Right.
yeah. It's always good when the actor doesn't seem like an actor. So, I'm all for that.
Pardon my keyboard. I was trying to look something up about him, but anyway. Let's see. Who else? Tito Jackson.
Tito Jackson. Yeah.
Officially the founder of the Jackson 5.
Yeah, I would assume the mother and
See,
father.
he's the
were
oldest brother,
founders.
right?
He is the oldest, right? I believe. Tito. Every family has a Tito. Yep. Yep.
And this one hit me more than the rest, only because my dad, but Chris Christopherson died.
Yeah.
Chris Christopherson is not my dad, but
Oh.
my dad really likes a lot of his music.
Talk about he's like the Dame Duty. He's the Dame Maggie Smith of our time for males. Think about it. I mean, songwriter, singer, actor. The guy really did everything.
Yeah.
So pretty impressive career too. I think he was he was in his early 80s, I think, when he passed. I mean, Blade. He was in Blade,
He was.
Chris Christopherson was in superhero movies before everybody else. Sunday Morning Coming Down, right there. Great songwriter. I saw him, The Highwaymen, with Chris Christopherson and Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, and Johnny Cash. I saw them perform. Great concert. It was almost 3 hours long. They did all the Highwaymen hits, plus they all did all their individual hits. It was a fantastic concert, and it was really cool that I got the opportunity to see that in my lifetime. So, yeah, another big one.
Another big one.
You have any more?
One
you're missing you haven't brought up yet.
Who?
John Amos, the father from Good Times.
Yeah.
And
I think it was out because that was a few weeks ago, right?
It was like last week.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I wonder why that didn't. I don't know. I'm not sure why that didn't hit my radar.
It depended the day. I think the day it hit was not a regular. It wasn't during the week. I think it was on the weekend.
Oh, well, there you go.
But
if you're gonna die on the weekend, I'm not gonna catch it.
Yeah. That's everyone knows that about you, Mike. So, but my favorite scene with him was when JJ's reading the poem to the girl, and his laugh is so legit in the corner. It's not really. It's not him pretending to laugh. It's pretty funny. So, but he was great. He was great on Good Times. My father-in-law used to play basketball with him when they were kids.
That's right.
In New Jersey. So, and then my father-in-law knew his brother real well. So,
interesting.
There you have it. That's all I have for you, John Amos.
So what have you been doing this week, Brian? What is your last 2 weeks? Actually, we haven't been online for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I've been working on the future quite a lot in my personal life, but I will say in my non-professional life, relaxing, I watched the HBO documentary Charlie Hustle on Pete Rose, which is fascinating because I am not a baseball fan at all, but I thought he had just passed away too, speaking of celebrity deaths. So I thought I would check it out and learn a little bit about Pete Rose more than I knew. It's an interesting documentary because he gets caught in his own lies, even, currently, which is very interesting. So in terms of what I got pulled away from it, and I don't know if you're a baseball fan at all, Mike, but what I pulled away from it is ability-wise, what he was able to do on the field is pretty amazing. That should get him into the Hall of Fame. All the other stuff, is he worse than anybody else out there right now? I mean, there are some wonderful glory boys out there playing baseball that have nothing in their past, but nobody's perfect. I mean, he had a lot of bad things. I mean, there's a lot in there, but I don't know for exactly what he was able to do. If you look at just what he was able to do on the field, pretty impressive. So, and Charlie Hustle is the right name for it, as far as I got out of it. So,
my watching this last week or two has been a lot. I haven't sat down and watched like television or anything really. I've been watching The Penguin.
Mm-hmm.
That's been good.
Burgess Meredith is great in that.
Yes. Wah, 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 wah. He is good. But you and I were talking about this on the phone, but I don't understand the character of the Penguin on screen is not recognizable as Colin Farrell. But he is, he's a good actor. He's okay. He's not going to win any big awards for this. He might just because it's so out of character or something. But
yeah.
But there's a million actors they could have gotten to play this part, and I don't understand why they would bring a big name in.
Because DeVito didn't want to do it.
He didn't want to have his teeth stained black anymore.
I know what you're saying, but here's the interesting thing. So when you have like actors, okay, and actors portray something that they are not. That's what all actors are doing.
Right.
So the lost art of like what he's doing in this is being lost in the becoming the character is pretty fantastic. You don't see that anymore where an actor will go. But I agree with what you're saying. Society now says, why don't you just get, you're taking jobs away from overweight, ugly people. So
not even that. But my point is they could use another skinny guy even. It's the reason you would hire a famous person is to have that famous person in your movie.
Well,
and to draw on that look and that thing, he's a super handsome guy. He's, people go to watch him. If they're not going to see him, then what's the point?
Well, I think though, remember the Penguin only stems from the movie, The Batman. So the intention of ever doing a TV series and then how much further going on, especially not that they were thinking it was going to be a one-off or anything else, but it's, I was listening to an interview the other day and they were talking about Spencer Tracy in Old Man in the Sea. Spencer Tracy portraying a Mexican. And how like you couldn't do that anymore. But then again, Spencer Tracy at the time, was he believable as a Mexican? I don't know. To be honest, I've never.
I don't either. But he's recognizable.
I read the book. It's a rare time where I've read the book and I haven't seen the movie.
But at least in that, he's recognizable as Spencer Tracy. So if you're putting a star, if the point is, if you're going to pay all that extra money,
I don't know. He kind of had all that beard growth.
Yeah.
You couldn't recognize him. I'm saying. I don't know.
I just think that if you're going to pay all that money for a star and then hide that he's not in it, then why did you pay all that extra money?
I think the moral of the story is, though, if you can take an actor and he can create something that shouldn't be recognizable as whoever they are, Right. Dennis Miller said it best. Dennis Miller said, I'm not an actor. When you see like, oh, look, Dennis is fighting zombies. Oh, look, Dennis is fighting vampires. Oh, look, Dennis is working on a computer. It's true. That's what I see with a lot of actors. Oh, it's so-and-so is this now. It's so-and-so is this now.
That's Robert De Niro to me.
But you know what, though? That the Colin Farrell portrayal definitely is like more theater than it is movie. You know what I mean? To be completely lost in that for that moment is really cool.
No, I don't take anything away from his ability to do it or even the skill or the artistry of that. I just think that's a lot of money to pay. And I mean, point blank, the only reason they have him is because more people will watch it with his name on it.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. It's not because he's the best actor that ever lived.
Well, I don't know if he's the biggest draw on the planet. It's not like, what I mean? It's not Tom Cruise doing it, but he is a name, definitely.
But yeah, I mean, he was an attainable name for them.
I mean, the amount of Irish people that are watching this is through the roof. Through the roof.
So let's see. There was that, and then I told you I watched the Vince McMahon thing. I think we already talked about that.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then watching. What I started watching was I got into a rabbit trail watching these little videos on the history of video games and things like that, like Atari. It's pretty interesting history. Pretty interesting how that came about and the guys behind it and all of that stuff and how it was ill-fated eventually. But
my cousin used to work at Atari.
Really?
Yeah. And I remember as a little kid going, can we get stuff for free? Which we never did. I mean, She worked for Atari for a long time,
Huh.
and then when she quit, it was like, womp, womp. And that was it. So no, I haven't been watching too much. I've been watching this show. It's kind of dumb. It's called the News.
Huh.
It's on there's a lot of different ones on.
Yeah.
No, I mean, the other thing I've been watching, and it's kind of like I got in this rut of just kind of watching it because it only comes out, once a week, is the Murders on Elm Street. It's another documentary series on HBO, and it's just all these different murders that have taken place on Elm Street across the country.
Oh,
Yeah.
I saw that on HBO Max. I saw the little header for it, and I assumed it was like the true story of murder on it, but it's not.
No, it's just a variety of
just Elm
different
Streets.
murders that have talked. And it's crazy how that particular street, there's a lot of murders on it. And, a few of them early on or before the movie, but it's a common street name. So I'm sure there's,
Sure.
I mean, Murders on Main, I'm sure will probably be down the pike here at some time. But it's an interesting series, and it's getting, the last one was pretty brutal. It's just getting, I don't know why I'm watching these things. Like I said, I've gone down this true crime hole, and I don't like it, and but I can't stop watching it. Like I said, HBO does have that one called "How Not to Get Rid of a Body," I think is what it's called.
Yeah, I saw that,
and I just can't. I haven't even looked at the trailer on it, so I'm kind of just.
You know what I will watch every once in a while is there's a bunch of them free online. It's 48 hours.
Yeah,
because they're short. They're like 20-30 minute little videos.
Yeah.
And then you can, okay, I got my fix in for the true crime thing. I don't have to commit to episodic hours and hours.
But you know what? One thing I have been watching lately with my daughter, periodically I'm in and out of watching this with her, is that ABC show, Abbott Elementary. It's very funny.
Is that about the teachers?
The teachers in Philadelphia. Yeah. So it's office-esque. It's got the, the sidebar conversations and stuff like that. Very funny though. Very good characters. And set in that teaching world is very good. So enjoying that. And I know the new season's coming up soon. I think we're almost caught up to when the new season starts. So
yeah, I'll have to check that out. I haven't seen any of that.
Yeah. And there are people on that show that will definitely remind you of people in our comedy scene. That's all I'm going to say for now.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of the comedy scene, I got in a little hot water apparently the other day. You were aware of this. I was asked to come in and judge a contest.
Imagine you being judgy.
And so I sat patiently in the back and watched a lot of these guys very early on in their comedy efforts of their life. And as you know, I will laugh quite a bit at some of these, oftentimes at the failed attempts at being funny.
And again, in context for anybody watching, I don't know if anybody is, but anyway, in context for that, it is a contest. It is mainly newbies, so it's not seasoned professionals up there doing their thing trying to win a grand prize. It's definitely set up for newbies, and to be honest, no vets really ever sign up for this thing.
Right. So. Right. And so anyway, I'm sitting with another veteran comic, as we were labeled. And we watched the whole thing, did our best to do our best judging and pass people through to the next round and so forth. The next day I found out that there was some post about somebody who had been in the contest, who, by the way, I voted for, was very upset because the two of us were sitting in the back laughing at the comedians. And I don't know if you remember any time in the past, Brian, when somebody said, stop laughing. And I thought, you want us to stop laughing at the thing that's supposed to be funny?
That's right. And then followed by a table flip.
Yeah, that's right. And I was petitioned to measure.
Petition to measure. That's hilarious.
Anyway, that's what that reminded me of.
It's going to be the name of your book, Mike James, Petition to Measure. That was a scenario in that that the particular person that is saying all this is new and dramatic.
Well, right. So the point of that was more to the effect, or to the point of being that these people oftentimes, especially early on in their comedy career or in a lot of places, I suppose, any entertainment, they tend to think of themselves much further along or higher up than they kind of are.
Absolutely.
And I'm guilty of that too. I did that early on. I thought, yeah, I'm doing pretty good. And, looking back, realized, okay, I was just an infant.
There's a lot of that for the first 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah. But the point was that person was trying to make was that, we're making fun of these comedians and etc. And it struck me as funny because I thought, a veteran comedian wouldn't have been offended at all.
Right.
But this person was, and in their defense, we were laughing at them a lot more than with them on these things. But was the nature of it. We were there to judge, and we were talking and discussing this stuff and how some of it didn't make sense and so forth. So,
and that's kind of, again, that's how it goes. That's what happens really for the first 10 years.
Yeah.
I'll say it again. That's what happens for the first 15 years. It keeps going.
So. And to clarify, that first 20 years when that's like that, you just have to grin and bear it.
That's what happens. That's how it is. No, again, that particular comedian got through, and then,
yeah.
What do you care?
I know I'm trying to be discreet for politeness. There's no chance that they would watch this.
Correct.
But
to be honest, there's no chance they will continue on.
Yeah, that's true too. They won't. They will not make it past.
They just happen to be okay for that particular night.
Yeah.
And with that being said, tonight is round 3.
Oh,
no, 4. 3. Sorry, 3. Round 3 tonight. So yeah. So it'll be interesting.
Oh. Well, we have a special guest joining us a little later. They're not here yet.
Okay.
So just letting you know.
Okay.
But I thought I would let you know a little bit about this person. I'm trying to think of how you would have first met them. I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to assume. Oh no, that would give out way too much. I can't. I'm trying to figure out how the best.
My guess is either Burning Man, Coachella, the robot conference of Duluth.
This is a comedian.
Okay.
Professional comedian, and you have worked with them before.
Okay.
I don't know how often.
Okay.
You will be working with them again.
Oh. Okay. All right. Got some ideas formulating.
I don't want to give away too much till we get closer to the time, but
I know it's not Bob Smiley. That's all.
In the next 5 minutes or so.
Okay. All right.
So
you need 5 more minutes of banter. Is what you need.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We need to waste 5 more minutes. By the way, your office is very clean, Brian, except for that mess you have on the second shelf.
I know, right here. This is my wife. She's got an art project going on so let me fill you in on this. The reason that's here is because my wife is the assistant golf coach at my daughter's school. Okay. So my wife decided, and she does this like every Wednesday, she cooks an elaborate meal for the entire team and they come over and eat. Okay. And I mean elaborate meal. So it could be like a big pasta meal. Last night was taco bar. She built a taco bar and everything else. And what happens when that goes on, Mike? I'm not here because I'm at the open mic. Do I get to feast with No, I don't. I come home and pick up leftovers if I'm lucky, if there's leftovers. But that's what happened. Anyway, she's cleaning up the house, and then now we've got all kinds of just stuff now I got to deal with. It's crazy.
I think we should start a new segment, and we're going to call it Judge.
Judge? Okay.
So I'm curious, what is your take on Shane Gillis? He's popped up to high prominence very quickly, suddenly. I mean, he's been around for a long, long time, but his popularity really took off recently.
I find it fascinating that you bring that up because I was just thinking about him this morning.
Really?
So the reason I was thinking about him this morning, because I was asked to do a podcast when he got hired on SNL, and then all the podcast stuff came up about the anti-Asian statements and things, I did a podcast asking me my opinion on it. And at the time, I didn't know him. I didn't know his material. I didn't know anything. And my opinion of what I heard was, I didn't like what I heard because I felt like there was a malicious aspect to what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, hearing his material and all that, I think he's very funny.
Yeah.
I think he has a real matter-of-fact way of talking, which could be, again, going back to that podcast listening, it could be all fun and games and all that. I think it's just, and I'm not, you know me, I'm not a woke person, but
Not at this hour.
not at this hour. But I'm saying when it comes to like issues of Asians don't speak up for themselves a lot. You don't see it only in Bruce Lee movies and Jackie Chan films, and that's racist right there. I think, I don't know. Anyways, I'm just saying.
And if they do speak up, we can't hear them from here.
Or someone's got to do the obligatory rolling of the R's. No, but they just traditionally don't. Traditionally, like, I mean, I grew up with a Japanese father who came through, went to high school during 1941. It wasn't a good time. People don't speak up. They just be quiet, be a good citizen, do your thing. And so when I see, that happening a lot, there was a comic last week, gets up and starts doing a really horrible Asian accent, which was just, so anyways, with all that being said, I'm very sensitive to that. So, and not out of control sensitive about it. But,
no, I know you're not like that.
Yeah. But like, that was my introduction to Shane. So I've had to warm up to him. Let's put it that way. So I think he's very interesting. He's very funny.
Speaking of racism in comedy, and you know how I am, to me, if it's funny, it's funny, period. I don't care either way. And I think you're pretty much the same way, but there are aspects of sometimes where it feels like you're just intentionally being mean-spirited, not because it's funny, because you're mean. So Angela Johnson was one of those to me. I mean, it was other races and stuff, nothing about me or being Irish or any of that stuff. But I always cringe when I hear her, because I just think that's so over the top racist to me. But she made a huge career out of that.
Well, what's ridiculous about it is, she gets a pass on it. And for some reason, I'm not a fan of it. I just don't like it because it is very, like what I said on that other podcast was its intent. Why are you doing it?
Right.
Are you doing it? Is it strictly entertainment, or are you actually taking a shot at that race, kind of thing?
And I think with her, it's entertaining. I mean, to me, obviously, it's, I don't know what the initial club scene, that's what made her famous, was that stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I don't know her initial thing. I assume it's just because she thought, oh, this is funny, I'll get a laugh.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But then she really dug in. And I don't think she's malicious in any way, but it's still over the top. I've never been a fan of the idea of anything for a laugh. I think within reason. And again, anybody who knows me, especially you, Brian, would not consider me somebody who's overly sensitive or woke about these things at all. I'm not, even in the least. If it's funny enough, literally anything, but it has to be really funny if you're going to be offensive and mean.
Yeah. Like Angela Johnson's thing, I think she's one time is something, but I know she's done that character many times and brought it back. And with that being said, my wife is a huge Angela Johnson fan. And does it bug me? I'm going to use the word bugs me. Anyways, I'm talking about my wife, the same woman who left this in my office, right? This right here.
The mess maker.
Exactly. Who can live like this is what I'm saying, Mike. I got to deal with this, and I got to listen on the Sirius XM.
I mean, a man has his limits.
Anyway, but I mean, like I said, this comic last week or a couple weeks ago who did this thing, he's a white guy, and he's doing like very hard Asian, like, oh, you, and I was like, whoa, it's like Mickey Rooney being in the room from Breakfast at Tiffany's. It was like, wow.
I watched that about a year ago. I remembered several things about that movie and watching it. One, how the movie's pretty stupid, and how it's kind of inappropriate for any audience. But also, Andy Rooney's character was just like, wow.
Yeah. But But the funny thing is too, I mean, so that movie's still around. Obviously, people still watch it. I mean, it's not, I don't see it on TV too often anymore. But that over the top type of Asian character is gone. I mean, we'll never get to watch Mr. Magoo again because of Charlie,
Yeah.
And that's sad because that was part of my childhood growing up. That was one of the only Asian characters I remember being on TV. There was Gilligan's Island with the Japanese soldier.
Yeah. How many episodes? That was only one episode.
There was one episode. Then there was, and not only that, there was an Italian guy portraying.
Oh, was it?
It was the same guy who I think was the guy who had the evil castle.
Wow.
And then Mr. Magoo, and then Tommy Chong. Those were the three, and then the Sulu, of course. So very, very little influence, And then
Yeah.
eventually Bruce Lee rose to his fame and then died quickly. I mean, so as a kid, that's what I had, but all that stuff's been taken away. You and I always share like the most, we like watching those old TV commercials. You like the Chino Bandito commercials, what you grew up with, right? Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah. No, the
Cheeto
Cheeto Bandito.
Cheeto Bandito.
The Cheeto
I'm thinking
Bandito.
of the restaurant here, Chino Bandito.
No, I'm Frito.
Frito, right?
Ay. Yeah, the Frito Bandito.
But I've showed you that one with the this is typical Asian baby.
Oh, dude, that's the best one
with Jello.
That's like the funniest commercial ever.
He's like, it's finger food, but he wanted to eat it with chopsticks.
We should maybe next episode we'll play a few old out of date commercials. Mm-hmm. But then so those things clearly are like, okay, that could be offensive because you could totally see somebody being like, hey, that's not nice. That's not how we are. That's you're really kind of looking down on everybody. But then it goes so far as to like where Aunt Jemima, they had to change that whole thing. Mm-hmm. And Aunt Jemima was a real person who really created this company, who was very famous for her cooking and her baking, and they took all that away.
Yep. And and with that being said, Mike, Pillsbury Doughboy, you're next. You worked hard to create that company.
It's culturally insensitive.
It is. And you know what? He's white.
It's true. Albino, actually.
I'm not gonna fat shame him, but I mean, you can make yourself into any size. Come on.
I think he's Swedish. I don't know what he is.
He's got an attitude for everything. But yeah, it's interesting. Wow, this took a turn to this morning.
Yeah, whatever.
I apologize. You just asked what I think of Shane Gillis.
Yeah.
I like his Trump impression is fantastic.
I think he's got the best Trump impression because it's not it's on the fly. It's all improvised as it goes, and he just does a great job. He talks just like Trump.
James Austin, what's his name from SNL's, is very good, but he just doesn't look like Trump that much. Gillis.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that I've seen his a couple times, but it's all scripted. So it's like, okay,
no, but he does a free for all thing too. That's how he kind of got discovered. There's a thing with him walking down the street doing a whole thing on Scooby Doo, which is just really funny. They're always solving mysteries, and he's just walking, doing this thing. But he's pretty good at riffing. I mean, he does a lot. He writes a lot of his own stuff on the show for that.
I think it's funny that he got picked out of the masses of talent to do SNL because he does a Trump.
Well, I think he really rose to fame because I think Gillis was the season before that he didn't get on. So I think he was picked after that.
He was the runner-up.
Yeah, he's the runner-up.
I need to give you another clue, and I think let's see. The next clue is I don't know for sure. I'm pretty sure. I'm 99% sure that this guest is taller than either you or I.
Okay.
And let's see. Most viewers will not have necessarily seen our guest before, but they'll be very familiar with a lot of their work. And and they'll be very familiar with a lot of the stuff he's been associated with. Okay, I said he, so it's a he.
I think I know.
Do you?
I'm ready to buzz in.
What?
Robert Keeley, that was my guess. You know, let me guess. There's very few people that I know comic wise that are taller than you, Mike. Everyone's taller than me.
I feel like I should take down that picture behind me because it's just it's very cool, but it's just weird to stand up. Hold on.
Oh, we're doing some set dressing early. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Could you put up another picture?
Yes, I've got
Robert,
one
how
of you.
tall are you?
I am 6'2", so I'm just a
Yeah.
skosh.
I remember you being. I was pretty sure you were taller than me. I'm only like 5'11",
And
about
I'm-
6 foot. Just
And
under
we
6
all
foot.
know I'm 5'2", so I wear heels anyway. Robert, how are you?
Good. It's just been a crazy week, so it was one of those. So I apologize for being late, but I just I had to go to Chick-fil-A. I had to cover the essentials of the day.
Yeah.
And right now there's ladies cleaning my house. There's a dog. There's my daughter. There's a sister-in-law. It's just crazy right now. So anyway, it's good.
Oh.
This is a relief. Hello. So nice to
So
see you.
your house is kind of like my house is if you're coming to stay.
Yeah,
Very busy, no room.
exactly. Exactly. Every time I come over, that's right.
Robert, based on what you said, I think you should be locking your door right now.
Well,
Yeah.
Give yourself this moment. And who knows? If things go well, maybe we'll have 5 minutes of silence. You can put your head down and rest.
ooh, very nice. If we could squeeze that in, that'd be great.
Before you go back into the world. So that's good. All right.
Well, it's good to see you, Robert. So the three of us have many shows coming up early next year. Actually, I think December we have one, and then a few. You're on that one in December, right, Robert?
December 6th. I just booked a flight for that. Yeah, because I leave
Okay,
from there.
great.
I go up to Canada the next day, but that Friday, yep,
All right.
December 6th. And then in February, I think
Yeah, we have 4
11,
days.
12, 13, and 14 of February. Yeah.
Yeah, it's rare and really nice that they just happen to butt right up to each other, so we don't have to. Yeah, that was nice. I believe the tickets will be available for the public on all of those. Oh, I don't. Brian, is yours available for the public? That show on the
It will
14th?
be. Yeah,
Okay.
it should be.
So they'll all be on our websites and on our calendars and all that stuff. If anybody's interested in coming out to see them live, they're all in the general Phoenix area, Mesa, Phoenix. I think Tempe is one of them, and I don't know. They're just in the general area.
Robert, it should be really nice. It should be about 80, 90 degrees February when you come. So
Perfect
ready.
Arizona weather. That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
bring your shorts, bring your swimsuit. And
I'm
actually,
bringing
based
the
on
pickleball.
how warm it is here
I'm
now,
gonna get a lesson from somebody has a wife who's big in pickleball. I don't know who it is exactly, but I'm coming ready.
All right. She'll you're gonna be here long enough. She'll definitely be willing to play pickleball with you or just throw balls at you in the hallway, whatever.
Yeah.
start stretching now is what we're saying.
Yeah.
Never too early to start stretching. So,
She
Robert,
won't play pickleball with me. We're talking about my wife. She will not play pickleball with me. I always thought, well, it's because it'd be like me playing ping pong with a toddler. It's just like frustrating. But to a degree, it's that. But I think far more is, she's trying to instruct and help and say, here, now here's the next thing you want to do, and make sure you're standing over here and all that. And the way I am, I'm like, why? I questioned it all, and it's not that I'm trying to challenge it. I just want to understand it, and but to her, she's like,
it's challenging. I've seen you two together. It's challenging. I've seen you two together, and her opinion of you not being fun. Yeah, I think I know what the problem is. Yeah.
I'm not a fun, friendly person.
Robert, have you played pickleball before?
My wife and I picked it up this year. I'm an old swimmer, but my wife doesn't like it that much, so I've switched over, and now it's pickleball 3 days a week. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. All
Are
right.
you loving it? Everybody that I talk to that starts playing and gives it a good chance just falls in love with it.
The answer is yes and no. You fall in love with it, but you see, when you swim, you go from one end of the pool to the other. The only thing you can do wrong is go slow. and maybe hit the wall. In pickleball, it's like, oh no, I wasn't at the kitchen. I was too. The ball hit over there. This was wrong. It was too high. I set them up wrong. It's like there's 1,000 things to go wrong. So that's the frustration. And I think golfers experience the same thing. It's like, oh, if I could just work on that slice and get that. When you swim, if you don't drown, you succeed. But pickleball has 1,000 rules.
I think with pickleball, it's even harder. It depends on your personality, but golf is one thing. And you're right. There's a million things that go wrong. It can be very frustrating. You want to throw your clubs, all of that. But with pickleball, oh man, I'm really upset with myself. And my partner's really mad at me too.
Yeah, right,
and that's the thing that's such a big difference with that game. Now you play singles, and a lot of people do that, but most pickleball is doubles. And but that's the thing. That's the biggest complaint I hear. And again, I'm not a big pickleball player, but my wife is very much into it.
Doubles, singles. No, you have to. The whole point of pickleball is to not run as far as you do in tennis.
Yeah,
tennis,
exactly.
You have to go all the way over there. Pickleball, you're like about a 3-foot area. Okay.
Playing singles pickleball is almost the same as playing doubles tennis. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. Too much work.
Yeah,
I think it sounds like because of the aspect of you saying doubles, most people play doubles. It's really social media for older people. This is where, because I'm sure after everybody gets done playing, there's a lot of talk.
So it's closer to a religion. It's Our Lady of the Dink. These people are out there and they are serious about it, and they're religiously. And if you do this, oh no, you're not advanced. You can't come onto our court. No, you have to go over there. It's like, all right, I'm in the wrong denomination right now. So there's a lot of that aspect.
It's funny too, because and I don't play this, but everyone always talks about if you play blackjack at a table, people can get very mad at you if you decide to take a hit when you shouldn't, and then everybody at the table gets mad at you. So it's the same thing, I think, where it's like, you're not at the skill level you're supposed to be.
You've altered the order of the cards for everybody.
Yeah. So,
that's exactly a good point, because it'd be like playing roulette. Nobody cares what you bet because it doesn't affect them.
Right.
But card games are different because everything you do affects everybody else. And the same with pickleball doubles. Anyway, that's the biggest complaint I hear from my wife about if she's had a bad day. It's mostly about she feels like she disappointed somebody else, or she's caused a problem, or whoever she's playing with didn't play to her standard or whatever.
Let me ask you guys a real serious question about pickleball, because I don't know. Partner wise, who do you think would win, George and Gracie versus Martin and Lewis? I mean, just.
I think obviously you're not a pickleball player, because it would be Martin and Lewis every day, because you would have to spend the first 3 days explaining the rules to Gracie, so she would not understand it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And Lewis is manic. Dean Martin would just stand there
in the middle.
And Jerry Lewis would go,
he'd stand there with a glass and a cigarette.
Yeah. And let Jerry do everything.
Yeah.
Mr. Martin, I got it. Right.
But that is a reference for people who are over 60 years old. Right. So
well, we're talking pickleball, so I thought,
Oh, okay, yeah.
I mean, I know younger people play it, but I just don't know any.
This is our annual pickleball episode anyway, so.
Is it the 10th already? Usually it's a monthly pickleball on the 10th.
Yeah.
So you were a swimmer. You were a swimmer in high school, college, or what's the deal? What's the story on the swimming?
Yeah, grade school, high school, was on the went to state, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, Mark Spitz was my era. I wasn't built like Michael Phelps with that huge wingspan, but it was fun. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was good. And then you get out of high school and you realize, oh yeah, they put my picture up, basically naked, because you have these little Speedos, it's like the whole high school is walking by. So it's like, this is embarrassing. So, don't do it when you're an old fat man, but it's cool.
Did you put a little sticker over your picture in there saying, hey, the water was cold?
My hoo-ha? No,
I didn't realize I didn't realize that there were so many body image problems with swimming as younger and older.
So like, I was a big swimmer too in high school, Robert. I was on the swim team, and I loved swimming. But I grew up on the water. I've always been around the ocean until we moved to Arizona. But I remember clearly I worked, that was my extracurricular job, was to work at the pool and was a lifeguard and swim instructor and all that stuff. But I remember very clearly on swim days, the girls hated swimming, first of all, because afterwards they had to run in and do all their makeup again in 5 minutes before the next class. But also because they had to walk out in these school issued suits. You didn't wear your own stuff. Every guy had to wear the same little Speedo suit, and all the girls wore the same thing. And the mechanics of the women's outfits were just horrific. They were awful, from where the seam lines were to everything else. And it was just like, yikes.
Well, so yeah, so the guys are all in Speedos, and these girls would volunteer to be our timers, and we're sitting there. Why would it? We're so oblivious to what's going on. We're like, why would any girl want to be here for an hour of practice just watching guys swim? And then when you get out, oh, now I know why. That's right. Okay, there we go. Now I was an idiot.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, the only swimming I ever did was PE my freshman year, and I had it first hour. So then you had wet head basically all morning, and then and every girl in that class too. Nobody was dunking their heads at that point.
Oh,
was swimming required for you, Brian? Was
Yeah.
like a requirement?
And they did it pretty quick because when the year starts, it's still warm enough, so you're in the pool before it gets it was.
So I grew up in the Pacific Northwest in the Puget Sound, and I believe you had to have several swim classes. I know it was required at least once, but I'm pretty sure it was frequent. Everybody I knew how to swim very well, but it's because we lived in and amongst the water.
Well, when you're in Indiana and you're on swim team, you get up at 5 a.m. to get to the school by 6. You swim for an hour to an hour and a half. Then you go to school all day. Then when you're done, you go back in the water and you swim for another hour and a half. And then you get out and it's freezing cold and dark. I didn't see the sun for 9 months. It was
Yeah.
Wow.
Those are the kind of things you go, I think I could live without this. I think I'm back.
Let me ask both of you guys this. So swimming, the pools, were they indoor? Or did
Ours was.
Yeah.
Okay. Because here, there's I don't know of any indoor pools for the high schools here.
Oh, real? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, Indiana, no, there's this much snow, and then you go swim and you go back out to this much snow. No, you have to have an indoor pool.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That would be crazy. I don't like cold at all. So I don't even like hearing what you're saying.
I've triggered you. I'm very sorry.
I can attest to that, having traveled many, 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 many times with Brian to the Midwest or wherever in the winter. His cold is not his. Mine either. I mean, I can't stand it either. But Brian, I know, is particularly sensitive.
Not a fan. But I will say this: so our good friend Dawson has moved to Finland, right? And so he's done the ice plunge like last year. In February, I saw a video of it. I'm like, you're insane. He's like, it's unlike anything you'll ever feel. And then you get out and then you run into like a hot room sauna. He goes, it's just amazing. He goes, and he said he ended up doing it like 2 or 3 times. But since then, like even the summer, like it gets still cold there, He was jumping into the lake, and he said it's absolutely freezing. But he said nobody does it. Nobody swims there. Everybody's on a boat or fishing or whatever. Nobody's taking the plunge. It's just so cold. And that doesn't make sense. I know a lot of people talk about the cold shower thing. It's supposed to help.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I can't get my water lower than 90 degrees here.
It's funny because Jenny started doing that this last spring, I think. And yet, from what I can gather, it's supposed to be very good for you to take a cold shower. But you're right. Our water here doesn't get anywhere close to cold enough.
Kind of in the winter, you might be able to do it, but
right. But I mean, like in the summer here, where I'm living currently, the water pipes aren't buried that deep. So in the summer, our cold water gets down to about 103 degrees. That's the cold water.
The cold water is hotter than the hot water.
It is.
I barely turn mine on. I'm like, but I have to turn it to hot.
So what happens is your house is air conditioned, and so the pipes in the wall for the hot water get cold, and so you're right. You'll be filling the cold water, which is 100 degrees, switch over to hot, and all of a sudden, oh, that's cold.
You guys are just a walking advertisement for Arizona. Property values are going up after this podcast.
We got pickleball, we have scalding hot water, we've got scorpions and rattlesnakes.
And warm cold water.
And we have the most famous large hole in the world, the Grand Canyon. Come see it.
Oh,
Come
I thought you were talking about somebody else.
So, Robert, pack your bags. Get ready, because February is going to be here before you know it. So,
Yeah. So, Robert, I have it all slated. You're going to stay here if you would like, at our place for a few days. I know Brian is probably saying that's not fair. I want him at my house, but
I would bring Robert to my house, but look at this mess my wife left.
that's
You know
true.
what I mean? Right here, look at this shelf.
Well, thank you so very much. Appreciate it.
Oh, is that?
I'll fix it.
That's that. It doesn't matter what she said. I'll fix it. Is the
fix it.
answer for sure.
It's like I said, it's craziness. We got people moving in and moving out. It's just like Arizona. It's crazy here.
They heard through the wall too. Why'd you take that picture down?
Yeah, and I will stay with whomever. Although now Mike James comedy is a cool background, but the bat signal and Brian's is that's off the chart. Cool.
There's a lot going on here.
It is. And speaking of that,
oh, look at you are good. That's great.
So
hey, your light turned off, Brian. It was on earlier.
it's dimming.
Oh, is it just running out of juice or?
It's dying. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
There's no current crime happening. It only turns on when Commissioner Kohatsu needs the Batman.
one thing, Batman can only work at night because he's just like, I waited all day.
I did not see it. It was up for hours. I didn't see it.
You like his
I
best?
worked that one overcast day in December, and that's all I remember.
You didn't say anything about my Mandalorian helmet over here.
Oh, that's you need a spotlight on that. It's hard to see that. That's cool. All right.
I like that it's right next to a portrait of you.
I know.
Is that autographed?
That is the way,
It
bro.
is.
That is the way.
Yeah. I have a lot of self-indulgence here, and cross-eyed comedy,
Yep.
and all of that's fake. But whatever.
It's very well done, Mike.
Thanks.
This is all real.
No, it's not. I've been to your house. That's a green screen. You're in the storage room of
I'll tell you what.
basement.
I have a green screen set up with all the lights in my living room right now because my
saw
son was doing a video yesterday.
What project is he working on that he had all that?
He's working on a video essay on Yelvis, the
Yelvis.
the Norwegian brothers who did What Does the Fox Say?
Oh, wow.
To each his own, I say.
Yeah.
That's why I posted what I did. More shenanigans coming. I don't know what's going on.
I just felt like I just moved on to another generation exponentially. It's like, wow, okay, all right.
He's recording, and my wife's just like, because he was like, okay, guys, you got to be quiet. So my wife's in the kitchen, like trying to fix everything, like cutting it quietly as she can. Oh, yeah, it was a fun afternoon.
So Robert, you have Funny Together tour as your banner there.
And it just sort of came up. I think the last time I was on a podcast, it must have been with Rhonda. And now it's Robert G. Lee. It switched over.
I just did that.
Good.
But that reminds me, have you done stuff with the Funny Together tour? You've had a couple shows with them, right? You have too, Brian, right?
Yeah,
I've done one show with them, and then Rhonda got mad at me and took me off. So I don't think I'm on there anymore. So
okay, all right.
So I'll just when I with you in December and February, then you guys can get mad at me and then kick me off your tour. And you know, I'm just moving from group to group.
That's on our schedule. I think February 15th. I have it slated to get mad at you.
Okay, yeah. As long as it's scheduled, that's good.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to do the 10th, so we could go play pickleball after.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever. It doesn't really matter. Neither here nor there, they say.
What else you have coming up, Robert, that people might be interested in? And
well, I've got a couple things. I just filmed my second Dry Bar special, so that'll be out sometime next year. That's called Out of Warranty. And then I've got my next comedy special. That's called Comic. I went through all the things. Well, let's just make it easy and call it Comic. That has been edited. The sound is being tweaked right now. It should be out in this next month. I'm hoping for that. And then I've got a book coming out at Christmas, and it's the story of Job, told as a Princess Bride fairy tale. So it's I tell everybody, if C.S. Lewis and Monty Python got a hold of the story of Job and put it through their blender, that's what you get. So I'm having a lot of fun with that. So that'll
it's told as a princess. What'd you say it was?
It's like a Princess Bride type fairy tale.
Princess.
So it's
Okay, Princess
Job
Bride.
set in medieval times.
Okay, all right.
I'm going to
Yeah.
pitch you an idea here, Robert, real quick. How about for next year a book called "I'll Fix That"?
That just came from your lips to
fix
God's
it.
ears.
There you go.
No matter what it is.
I like that
That's going to
book.
be your next special for sure. I'll
Okay.
fix it.
So we were just talking about this. Brian and I were in the past, pre-pandemic anyway. This time of year really starts picking up, and I get a lot of corporate work, a lot of that stuff for holiday parties and end of year things and so forth. And it's been similar this year, although I've had a lot more community work, like communities wanting entertainment, and not as much corporate stuff. But December itself is actually pretty vacant for me. Are you been booking up in December, or are you pretty
No,
open?
it's been really busy, and this is October's finally moving to. It's very weird. I'm a comedian going, finally, I don't have to work so much. It's just been because I had a lot of cruises, a lot to Alaska, the Caribbean, and all that's done till next year. And it's like I think if you do go on a cruise, you can't complain about the paycheck. It's not great, but at least you get to survive. But man, you're just on a floating prison. It just drives you crazy after a while. So
that was my problem after a while. It was really twofold. One, the boredom, but also I get anxiety when I'm not home. If my wife's with me, I'm fine. But when I'm away from her, I get this anxiety only in that I feel like I'm pretty sure that she has a flat tire and I'm not there to help her. And as she's stuck with a flat tire, she's getting more and more angry with me.
And that's absolutely true. And so it's just better to stay home and not make money, but be there for when you have to fix that. Yeah. So, so this is, as far as seasons go, this was a really good year. Now, see, both of you have had careers for a while. Mine was, I did TV warm-up for 35 years. And so I only went on the road sporadically. I never really had to do it as a career. It was like, if it came, it was great. But so I could do churches and do this. But now that COVID took everything away, I'm doing cruises, corporations, and churches. And it's like I've had to reinvent myself and just concentrate on the stand-up. So it's a lot of fun. I'm having a great time doing the stand-up. But the traveling, I'm going, well, I could stop this at some point and not be upset at all. That wouldn't bother me.
Well, that's where the books and the specials come in, though. So you make that residual income doing something else.
Oh, believe me, I'm going, God, I could stay here and fix my wife's flat tires every day if you make this book successful. Yes.
Yeah.
It's like you're in my head, Brian. It's amazing.
I'm trying.
So for anybody watching who's not familiar with Robert, Robert, you mentioned you did TV warm up forever. And well, you said 35 years, forever. For most people's perspective, that's forever.
Yeah.
And I was looking at your IMDb of all that, and there were so many things. Wings was one of my favorite shows ever. And I know some of these you did short term and some were much longer term. You did Golden Girls for quite a while, right?
Golden Girls was actually one of the shorter terms because I started off on Golden Girls.
Oh, I see.
But I did almost every episode of Wings. So I came in the first 13. And so that really was a great show. I love the producers there, the cast, everybody was great.
Wings had a long run.
It did.
Yeah.
It was just
longer than most people
never quite to the top of the ratings, but it was just that slow, steady,
but it was
dependable performance.
But it was a solid show from start to finish. I felt like that show never really wavered too much, but it was pretty consistent the whole time, the whole run.
A lot of those shows too were huge at the time, and I'm sure there are many people that wouldn't know what they are now, like Designing Women, or these big giant shows that a lot of people don't necessarily remember or weren't around for that. But Everybody Loves Raymond, I'm sure. I mean, that's still in syndication. People still watch that all the time.
Yeah, so I did the pilot of Everybody Loves Raymond, Frasier, New Adventures of Old Christine. I was on that show for years with Julie Louis-Dreyfus. I did Becker with Ted Danson. No, it was really great. You got to see the best performers in the world, the best directors, the best writers, and I got to write on some of the shows. I mean, it really was a really fun run. I enjoyed it immensely. At a certain point, though, you go, I wonder if I should work on my career. And so here I am, an old fart going, I guess it's time to introduce myself to the world. Okay. So anyway, I've been very fortunate. I really have. It was a lot of fun.
We've talked about this before. And for you, it was a much bigger contrast than for me. But for me, I spent so long working on corporate events and just being, out there trying to make well, frankly, more money performing comedy. And I never really focused on like the clubs and the local comedy scenes
Yeah.
and getting my name locally as far as that. And when the pandemic came, of course, comedy clubs closed, all the corporate event, any events, all that stuff stopped. But as things started to come back, the big events just still haven't come back. At least not anywhere near where they were. The clubs have. So for a while there, I was like, oh no, I never embedded myself in that world. So it was really hard to start getting work back again. And even now I still don't do much of the clubs, just because I never put myself there. And the getting booked at a club is a lot about just being recognized at the club and spending time there and that sort of thing. Unless you become enough of a national draw that they'll just book you for that. But so yeah, it's a crazy world.
Well, I was doing stand-up comedy in LA, working the clubs, and I couldn't relate to anybody because I was married, I had 2 kids, and I wasn't young and single and just going to the club to go home and get lucky with whoever my date was at the time, which was what the majority of the audience was. So I actually, for me, on the faith side of my career, I made this big decision. Say, all right, I'm done with the clubs. That was the mid '90s, and I really thought my career was over. And then I started performing in churches, and my career actually exploded at that point because then it was like, oh, these are people I can relate to. These are from grandparents to junior high kids. We all believe kind of the same thing, and we just come to laugh. And so it became this. My material exploded. I was on the road a lot, so I got to do the TV warm up and the churches. And for a good decade until CCA trained all those young kids to take our jobs away, it was a good run.
I was trying to remember. I don't know with Brian. I'm pretty sure it's the same, but I think I first met you at the Christian Comedy Association, the CCA, and I don't know that for a fact. We might have worked on some other event or something. Is that true, Brian? Did you first meet at CCA?
Robert,
yeah, with Robert.
First time. Although I did see Robert perform when I was working with a company. Gosh, this was years ago. Robert came and performed at a Christmas party for us.
Oh, really?
And I was not like doing comedy was not even on my radar, or else I would have come and talked to you. But I'm sure I did say, oh, that was really great. And you went, oh, thank you. And that was pretty much it at the time. I'll check with my wife. She was here that
Here
night.
We are, almost like
here we are now.
We're buddies right now. Wow.
That's the funny thing is because I was talking to somebody else about it. I said, well, do you guys remember the name of the comic? And they finally did tell me. They go, I think it was Robert something. I said, it was Robert G. Lee. This is like, I mean, it's years later. It's years later. I was a very young man at the time.
Yes.
You had big, great Brady hair. It was quite the thing back then.
I think Brian and I both went through the same kind of experience as you, as far as when I started comedy much later in life than most people do. But one of the things, I'd never hung around the clubs. There was a couple clubs that it was fun because I knew enough people there, so it was fun to hang out. But not that typical old school club scene where it's drugs and women and all that stuff. That was never part of the world for me. But you're right. I never had much in common with most of these younger comedians that were highly focused on the after party aspect of entertaining. And I think that's the same with Brian. So that's one of the reasons I was never part of that club world, because it just wasn't appealing. Performing there is great. I always told people performing at a club is like the reward you get for being a good comic everywhere else, because it's fun and easy, and the crowds love you.
It's not exactly true though. Mike and I used to hang out at one club in particular, and then when we were done, we would go out, we'd go drink, milk and have our cookies, and get a little crazy, and then we go.
I'll be honest with you. Sometimes instead of milk, I'd have chocolate milk.
Yeah, you would. And those are the nights I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, I wouldn't drive.
I'll drive. Because then it's just yeah, we were young, we were crazy, we're doing things we shouldn't have been doing. It's like, you really think you need those sweet tarts right now, Mike? Yeah, I do, man. I need them. And so Robert, let me ask you this, because I think this is so important. You teach comedy, I teach comedy, and over time, I don't know how much it's funny. You share a lot with comics, and then you start getting a little bit more real with them too. Like a lot of my class, I always tell them, student showcase is great. You're going to be fantastic. After that, you're on your own. I don't sugarcoat anything with them. But the one thing, and some of them that come to talk to me over the years, once they've been doing comedy for a while, but I think you're a prime example of this. Is like, I believe when it comes to comedy, diversity of what you're doing for comedy is key. So it's writing books, it's doing specials, it's doing stand-up, you've written films, you've starred in films, you've made films. Talk a little bit about that, just in terms of like the diversity that you have in doing comedy, because I may even be leaving out stuff at this point.
I think you've covered a lot of it, but no, I call it irons in the fire. When one iron kind of cools off, you got to make sure the other one's going, because that could take off and you don't know. So, but the other layer, there's two other layers of this. One is the work, and the other one is the need to create. I always have a need to create. My wife tells me, says, I will know when you're dead when you wake up without an idea. And I say, so it's not the lack of breathing that'll tip her off. It's that I don't come up with, hey, I figured that chapter out. Right. So I need to, and a lot of comics don't have the need to create. And because they don't have that, they also don't have the discipline. So when you have a need to create, then the discipline comes after that, I think, because I'm always working. I know for a fact, well, you talked about COVID. COVID took everything away. Again, on the faith side, God knew before I did that the rug was going to get pulled out. So I finished my latest comedy special, recorded it, sent it into Sirius Radio, who now pays residuals. I sent it to him in September of 19, and then in March of 20, COVID hit. Well, my residuals started in April, and so it all set up perfect. It's like, wow, I survived. Yeah, I had the SBA loans and all the other stuff to help, but the residuals really made it. So I know as a comic, if I'm not producing more material, I've got to do it for my next special so I can send it into Sirius Radio so I can get residuals. That's a base. That's my mailbox money. I can't survive without that. And then I know if I don't keep writing material, when this group calls me back in 2 years, whoops, I've got the same old show. I don't have any new material. So it's knowing that I'm going to be asked back at some point. And if I succeed, I'll be asked back again. If you fail, you're never asked back again. Yeah. So that drive to keep writing new stuff, stay relevant, yes, but to always have something new so that when people come back and say, oh, this is great, it's all new material all the time, that helps you build a reputation, which helps people bring you back. So all these things together, it's like what I see in most comics is, well, I just want to get famous, and then they go out on the road, and then you never hear from them again because they don't have the ammunition, they don't have the base to continue doing the work. It's like you have to love the work to be a comedian, and I don't think a lot of people do.
They see
You're totally right there.
They don't have the drive. They see the fun of it. Yeah. They don't see the drive. They don't see the business aspect of it. Yeah. And it's pretty sad because there's a lot of talented people out there too that if they could just get their act together and go, hey, I think I can really make a career out of this. Well, okay, get thinking and get busy.
And so when you talked about diversity, just to echo back that, so I had the TV warm up, and I've got a few corporations. Mike was much bigger in corporations. Mine, everyone I go to, they all seem to be alcoholics and they want a different kind of material. But that's why Mike fits. But then the books, that just came up the last couple of years, and so I'm having if I could just do books and not have to travel and just go out and every once in a while, it'd be such a good life. So we'll see how this next one does. But yeah, the movies and wrote for Veggie Tales. It's always just keep pitching, do voiceovers, do this, do that, whatever you can do. Just it is fun. You're a mom and pop comedy shop. That's what you are. You write it, you create it, you sell it. And if it's T-shirts or tchotchkes or whatever you can sell on your back table or books, you're always working, baby. There are people who do crisis pregnancy centers. There are people who do auctions over here. It's like, what's your niche? That's the great thing about comedy. You never know where your niche is going to be and what's going to explode for you. So, you got to keep throwing against the wall and go, oh, no, I really fit over here. But again, you don't find it until you start diversifying.
Yeah. And on top of all of that stuff, you got to do social media on top of it.
No, I found you hire people to do that.
Hire people. That's exactly it. I'll tell you what. So, Robert, I just wanted to say to you that, so that's one thing, like in the last like 5 years, I've really kind of concentrated more on the diversity of that. But watching you, you've been an inspiration to me to want to do that more, because I found how many irons I have was probably an unhealthy amount I realized last year, but this year I'm working on, or the next year I'm really working on trying to pull back and scale it back a little bit, because I got a little too ahead of myself at that point. But
one thing I know is if you want to get your life in order, wait till next year. That's important.
Yeah, thank you. Good advice. Good. That's just a sage advice right there. That's good.
The reason I even said all this is because I had to quickly, for the club's purpose, I had to come up with all my class schedules for next year, all of 2025 ahead of time, because our schedule is so it's so full anyway. So I'm like, man, like yesterday, I'm like, am I really thinking about all of 2025 right now? And I was. So, but I've scaled back, pulled back, trying to give myself a little bit more room for me and my family and everything else. So we'll see where we go. But I agree, you got to diversify. A lot of comics fall short of just thinking too narrow-minded. They just want to do stand-up and just have fun.
Quickly going back to that whole topic of teaching and all of that stuff, and we've all done that. One of the things that I know, when new comics talk to me and say, well, what's your advice? I always respond first with, it depends on what you want to do. Mm-hmm. Because if your goal is to one day become a feature act for one of the local clubs, and that's your ultimate goal, then that's a different path than one day I want to make a career of this and make it my living. There are a lot of guys that just want to do this as a side hobby and thing. And I don't begrudge them that. I think it's fine to be able to do that, but you just know that's where your goal is. And I oftentimes speak at one of Brian's classes, and I always mention, being if you want to make yourself marketable, be clean. And if you're not going to do that, then you've cut your market down by 9/10. So you can still do something out there, but if you're not clean, you're going to really struggle as far as making money. You can go out there and really struggle and live in your car and be dirty. But that's what you're going to do, is live in your car and be dirty.
And that's all your material.
Yeah.
I also think that I sort of agree with what you're saying. You should have goals, but I tell comedians, fail forward. Just keep doing it. Because once you understand the basis of comedy, you can then be a producer or a director or a writer or a stand-up. But there we go. I'll fix it.
We can still hear you.
Okay. Yeah, we can hear you.
Well, we did.
All of that. But he started off just writing sketches for Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. And he moved on to producing and writing. And so all these, most everybody you see in the comedy business, they really know their craft. And so it's easy for them to jump into another area.
Yeah. Right. I agree. And I agree with you also that you don't have to necessarily have a plan, but depending on what your goal is, if your goal is one thing, then work toward that goal. If you don't have any goal, that's fine too. But if you don't have, for example, if your goal is, hey, look, I've got this construction business, I don't ever want to stop doing it, that's my main life, but I love doing comedy on the side, then that's fine. Then you do whatever you want. But if you're like, I'm desperate, I've been trying comedy for the last 5 years and I cannot seem to make a nickel and I'm about to go call it quits, well, then here's some, that's a different piece of advice for you. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, Mike and I always talk about is how you define your success always, right?
Yeah.
Is the main thing, because so many people are like, not everybody wants the Netflix special. That's what everyone kind of presents as their thing. Like, oh, all of you, that's all you want? Some of them, again.
It used to be Carson. Now it's the Netflix special.
Netflix, exactly. Yeah. It's funny because I've had students that are older and they're just like, I just want to do 55 plus communities. That's all I want to do. Okay. Nothing wrong with that as your focus of what you want to do, but don't forget all the other things you can do. So I'm saying, if you got a knack and you're funny, there's other things you can do to be funny. There's plenty of podcasts. There's plenty of, there's so much available to you online. It's just crazy now how you can diversify, and keep yourself out there. But I think it's funny.
I hear you saying, tell your students, Brian, maybe it's time you get off the stage.
That's the fourth class. Yeah.
And that's class 1. Leave. Thank you for your non-refundable money. No,
Run. Well, we got to wrap this up, you guys. Hang on, and we can have a quick post-show chat that the rest of the world isn't privileged to. So hold on for just a second, guys.
We've been recording the whole time. I thought this was preamble.
To everybody else, no, this was live. To everybody else, thanks for joining us, and we will see you again in a week or so. I think maybe, we don't know.